Panama Teak Forestry is an agroforestry investment company that is 100% owned and managed by its shareholders. The company offers a safe, high-yield investment in tropical timber that is cultivated using sound, environmentally sustainable methods. PTF's directors are hands-on timber experts who are invested in the company, aligning their long-term goals of profitability and growth with those of all of the shareholders. The company is a debt-free, vertically integrated company structured to maximize investor returns through efficient end-to-end management of timber production. A mill and kiln will provide additional income streams through the sale and delivery of processed lumber and finished wood products. A key element of the company's whole land management strategy is co-cropping. Maintaining small herds of cattle and sheep on our timber properties helps keep the area around the trees clear, improves the soil, and provides income to offset operating costs. The value of PTF's holdings increases each month. As the well-tended trees continue to grow, teak prices rise, our livestock mature and multiply, and the value of the land increases. Bienvenidos a Panama Teak Forestry.
Where are we, and what is this?
This is a teak plantation in Panama. It's about a 5-year-old plantation.
How big is it?
33 hectares.
This is 33 hectares of teak?
Yes.
How old is this tree here that you're standing next to?
This is about a 5-year-old tree.
This is a 5-year-old tree. And how many trees are planted on this plantation?
You start out with 1,100 trees per hectare, so there would be, 1,100 times 33. And you end up planting dense because teak is naturally a branchy tree. It doesn't grow tall and straight. So by putting it dense, you force it to grow up chasing the light. And you have to thin so that it doesn't stunt itself. So you're always running a balance between overcrowded and giving it the optimum growth. So you crowd it enough to make it grow tall and straight, but cut it and give it enough room to grow. This is part of our Llano Grande plantation. These are 12-year-old trees. We've just finished a 12-year thinning in this area. And this is the size of a 12-year-old tree after, well managed, taken care of. You're getting some really nice wood and growth out here.
Why should I invest my hard-earned money in teak in Panama?
Timber has been one of your best producing investments over the last 20 years. It's beat the stock market, it's beat real estate, it's beat almost everything. It's a strong growth industry that grows. The trees literally grow every year. Teak is one of your highest yielding timber products. It's a higher value wood, grows relatively fast. It's a small niche part of the market. It's not nearly as large as the North American, so you don't get the institutional investors in it, which keeps the wood and the value up. It also grows in a very tight range, and it's an intense management tree, which keeps the value of the trees up much higher than most of the other softwoods. Teak is one of your highest yielding timbers of all timber classes. It produces, you get over 12% return on your investment from teak. It's a long-term investment. It's steady growth. It doesn't vary much. A tree grows the same amount every year. Doesn't matter what the economy is doing. The trees just keep on growing. It's basically money coming out of the air. Timber is one of your safest investments through time. It's proven always to be safe. Panama is one of your safe, stable countries. It's probably one of the best places if you were to invest in teak. Panama, Costa Rica are probably your two best countries. Panama has one of your best growth rates of any country in Latin America. And teak is one of your highest growing value trees. The volume of wood plus the value of the wood produces more return on your investment than almost any other investment you can make right now. It's steady. It's a long-term steady investment that's safe. You know what's going to happen 10 years from now. It's a long-term investment. This is the environmental impact study sign from the government of Panama. It shows our Sona Valley plantation from Panama Teak Forestry, that we have the 285 hectares here that's been approved and gone through the environmental studies of the government of Panama on January 2011. Yeah, this is Sona Valley, Panama Teak Forestry's plantation, and it is about 285 hectares in teak. It goes from this valley all the way up here. It crosses all the way to the distant hills there, going across, and you can actually see the rows of teak going all the way through the valley, over, crossing over back here, and up to this ridge here. So this whole valley is the Sona plantation. First year is right about here, and then most of the rest of that until the green is the next year.
So they grow very quickly, straight up.
They'll grow an inch a day.
Inch a day?
Yeah.
You can practically see that.
You can almost watch them grow.
Man.
management, teak is much more management intensive than the pine and fir, and the areas in which you can grow teak is way more limited. Pines and firs, you get 100,000 hectare tracts. In teak, 200 or 300 hectare tract is a large tract of teak.
So it's more difficult, more management.
Mm-hmm. A very limited area. Teak only grows within about 10 degrees of the equator. And if you go around the world within 10 degrees of the equator, there's a lot of ocean, there's a lot of desert, and there's a lot of unstable governments. So,
and Panama has the good combination of the good land, the stable governments, and it's within the area where it grows well.
Yeah.
You like it here, do you?
Oh, I love this place. It's great.
You love this part of the land?
I do.
I can tell this is your favorite part of the whole thing.
This is one of my favorite plantations, and I like this little corner of it. Build a little guest house here, and this is where I'll sit here and manage from.
Nice place. Nice place to have an office, eh?
It is.
Yeah. This is really pretty. It really is. And this is a stream that runs all the way up through the property, right?
Yeah.
This is a little river, no?
Little river runs all year round.
I bet it can be interesting during a big rainstorm, eh?
Oh yeah, you can't cross this river in a big rainstorm.
Can't get across it in a big storm, eh?
This is the Madre Vieja plantation. It's about 30 hectares planted. We have a number of native jungle areas that we're preserving in this plantation. It has new roads that have been built right next to this plantation, increasing the land value. It's also only about 1.5 miles from the beach. It's presently 7 years old and due for its next thinning in about a year or two. Okay, this is the land in Madre Vieja, and one of the things we're looking at is the value of the land. When we look at plantations, we also look at soil, teak, but also the value of the land. This particular piece is located within 1.5 miles of the ocean. Fabulous views, fabulous future development. We're growing teak for the next 25 years on this. You're making 12% per year on the teak growth, and you're making a good development potential in the future. And a 25-year cycle gives you time for more rural areas to get developed. This is the Playa Banco Beach. It's about 2 kilometers from one of our plantations located in the Sonai Valley.
Buenos. Okay, what are we looking at here, Jeff?
We're looking at probably about a 6-year-old tree, a 7-year-old tree that's absolutely worthless. This is teak done wrong. Bad soil, bad management, bad everything.
Okay, so we were just driving down the road, and this is some other dude's land.
Yeah.
You don't own this.
Nope.
And you don't manage it.
Don't manage it. Don't own it. Don't want to own it.
And this is a bad example.
This is a bad example.
Or how not to do it.
How not to do it. Yeah.
So that's a 6-year-old tree, and to be quite honest with you, it looks like crap.
It looks like crap. It'll never have any value. It doesn't matter how many years you wait. This tree is basically worthless forever. This is a slice from a recently thinned tree, and it shows one of the things you can see is the percentage of heartwood. This plantation is producing beautiful wood. The climatic zones and stuff affect that a whole lot as to how much heartwood and sapwood you get. With the dry season and wet season combination here, we're at 90% heartwood at a 12-year-old tree. So this is going to be a wonderful plantation over time. These are 12-year-old thinnings, and one of the things you look at the quality of teak is the amount of heartwood, percentage of heartwood. And so for 12 years you can see actually we have a very high percentage of heartwood coming in already. The heartwood usually lacks about 4 years behind the other stuff. And so we got probably less than 3 years of lacking heartwood because of the weather here. And you need a good dry season. And so that's where you plant your teak makes a big difference in how much heartwood you get, not only the volume of wood you grow and the value in the heartwood. This is what is called the furniture grade and boat grade wood. In some places you'll see trees this big around with the heartwood this size. So that's a big effect in the value of what your end product's going to be.
To maximize yield from the company's multi-age stands of high-quality timber, Panama Teak Forestry has built its own mill and kiln, which are wholly owned by shareholders. Processing our own timber will double the cash yield available from selling unprocessed logs. Additional revenue is expected from processing logs purchased from other timber growers. Over time, we expect to add a furniture factory at the site of the mill and kiln. These facilities, coupled with Panama Teak Forestry's product delivery network, will allow us to manage the lumber production process from start to finish in one efficient, sustainable process.
This is a kiln that can dry up to 10,000 board feet per load, which is about one container load. We have one of the only kilns in Panama, so that we can have our plantation can go from the trees, cutting it, kiln drying it, and exporting it to maximize our yield and value of the wood, rather than just selling logs. This is the Composting T-Systems, which basically takes your organic compost, it puts the microorganisms into the water and it breeds them like crazy. The advantage of the composting tea is you got super rich microorganisms in this water. You take it and sprinkle it out over the soil. Microorganisms in the soil will produce up to 2 tons of fertilizer per year per hectare. We got 500 hectares. These 2 little pots essentially would produce over 2,000 tons of fertilizer into the soil, all naturally through microorganisms once you get the soil life going again. This is the compost. You basically take organic waste, cow manure, wood chips with sawdust and stuff from the cow, cleaning the cow pens and the horse pens. It basically composts for about 30 days. The microorganisms break it down. It turns into basically a microorganism-rich organic pile of compost, which we then put into the teapots with some nutrients to make the microorganisms breathe to a super high concentration inside of the water.
Okay, so you're recycling everything pretty much.
We recycle everything, get it all back to the soil. Well, cows, one they complete the cycle for is, if you're doing agroforestry, they actually complete the cycle by eating the grass, processing it, and turning it into nitrogen waste and fertilizer. They reduce your labor and management costs by cutting understory without paid labor, and they actually increase your overall income because you make an income from the cattle. So it's both healthy for the soil, healthy for the plantation, and maximizes profits all at the same time.
And how many head do you have here?
We have a total of about 120 head of cattle right now, and we can run on our plantations, we're going to run it up to about 300 head is what we can get to tops. About $400. It costs you about $50 to produce one. You make about $350 per cow, and it takes about 2 years to produce a cow. Since the land we bought for teak, the land is basically free, so you can run about 300 cows, and you make about $350 per cow every 2 years, about $150 a year per cow.
And how many cows can you run on a hectare?
You can run with the teak, we're running about 1 cow per 2 hectare. We're going a very low density because we're looking after the soil. Soil compaction, there's a couple of issues with high density, so we're doing very low density cattle program.
It's teak first and cattle second.